Hello YouTube, Ambush here. How's it going? Welcome back to our Caribbean Horselord series. This will be episode 3 and where things finally start to snowball. We start off in Tyrosh, having just won a tournament. Just so you guys know, I started checking the tavern for any cavalry mercenaries whenever we pass the town. This time, we were lucky enough to find 9. After hiring them, we noticed that a colossal army bearing the Dornish flag was nearby. We decided to check it out and discovered that Prince Doran Martell was giving chase to the main forces of Myr. It seemed that the Dornish troops were unable to close in on them, since they numbered over twice the size of Myr's forces. However, it seems Providence has directed us into a position perfect for a pincer maneuver. We engaged Trego Drahar, making sure our allies are close enough to support us. The Magister of Myr then claims to be ignorant of us, surprising since, after all, I am sure many widows and orphans can trace their origins back to our warband. We get knocked out quite early during the battle. I think knowing that it was impossible to lose made me act hasty. We are informed of the great victory upon waking up, but see that their casualties make it closer to a massacre. If we include the garrison defending Myr, the opposition has lost about a third of their total strength. A monumental blow, one from which they may never recover. Thinking the war is basically over, we decide to use our influence and convince the lords to declare war on Tyrosh. Only time will tell if we acted without prudence. Nevertheless, we know that Daemon Targaryen once took on the whole Triarchy, and we are now just fighting 2 of the 3 which once made up the alliance. Still on high spirits and full of confidence, we decide to run down a couple of bandits in the vicinity. It was too late when we realized a force much greater than us was following closely behind. I tried to negotiate with the army triple our size, but they would not listen to our words. It was a tough decision, but in order to survive, we had to sacrifice a third of our troops. We decide to lick our wounds at Sunspear, but before we even get there, a raven lets us know that the nobles of Dorne have seen fit to declare war on Volantis. Times of peace were now nowhere in the foreseeable future. Our next course of action would be to revisit our native land and recruit more Dothraki into our ranks. Immediately after starting our voyage, we run into a battle between Dorne and the troops of Tyrosh. Of course, we headed into the fray, but just as our cavalry was about to clash with the enemy, we noticed that the opposing side was receiving reinforcements as well. Thinking that these new troops would turn around if they saw us join the battle, we decided to stay back a little, hoping to draw them into the clash first. Alas, the Dornish troops defeated the enemy before we could set up an ambush on the reinforcements, and so they retreated. Knowing our smaller unit could catch up, we rushed after them. Regrettably, we found ourselves confronting the enemy just outside of our allies' support range. Although outnumbered, I had faith in our battle-tested group and began the combat. This proved to be a reckless move and led to the injury of 27 troops and the death of another 14. Now, I'm not sure if losing the majority of our units made me overly impulsive or if my decision was simply the correct tactical move, but in the end, we sacrificed most of our remaining troops in order for our allies to catch up and eradicate the enemy. I know the 41 troops lost can rest easy, knowing their sacrifice was not in vain. With the help of our Dornish comrades, their deaths were avenged tenfold. Another great victory has been won in the Stepstones, but the war was far from over. We were useless without more troops under our command, so we resumed the journey back to our native land to recruit any mercenaries or young warriors seeking glory. The Dothraki followed us strong, and it doesn't take too long for us to garner a suitable warband over 100 units strong. While returning to the battlefield, we get a raven with surprising news. It turns out that the first and only blow in the war with Volantis was dealt by Dorne. Their troops were successful in sieging Sarmel, and Prince Doran Martell saw fit to name us its new holder. I think he realized that the castle's location near the middle of Essos would make it far too difficult for anyone else to properly manage or defend. However, being situated halfway between our liege and our native land, it would have its uses to the Silver Steppe. We accept the honor and head towards the tower. Shortly after, the Lords of Dorne decide to accept peace, realizing that the borders between the two nations were a little too distant. We were greeted warmly upon our arrival, and were pleasantly surprised to see the new high-quality troops under our command. After a bit of time debating who we should incorporate into our vanguard, we ultimately decide on the group you guys can see. We let the two car guards remain in the castle, not just to enjoy some rest after their arduous campaign, but to make sure the troops stationed behind don't become overly negligent in the performance of their duties. We left looking for battle, hoping to see how our new troops would perform. Soon, we encountered some Stormcrows. Apparently, Tyrosh had hired them and the Golden Company as mercenaries. I'll also show you guys a quick compilation of some of our victories against them. It was a little disappointing to find out that the other Lords of Dorne had decided to sign a peace treaty with Myr, since I thought we were clearly winning. Maybe they wanted to focus on only a single enemy, and Dorne was quickly able to besiege another castle known as the Tree of Crowns. This one was awarded to Nymeria Toland. We continued to defeat party after party, but I'll show you guys the next battle with one whose number closely resembled our own.
Charge!
As you guys can see, we are strong enough to simply charge groups belonging to a single lord. To be truthful, I am usually reckless with my actions in combat since sustaining injuries can help us raise our medicine level. It can be a little difficult to manage, but ultimately, you never want to be at full health. Having Mir now as a neutral city proved to be beneficial in our war with Tyrosh, since it became an outpost to restock our supplies and sell any spoils of battle. They were recuperating their strength, but I knew they could never match us in the future. It was in this town that I caught sight of a helmet offering better protection than our current one. It probably once belonged to a high-ranking member of the Golden Company, but now it would be protecting us. I'll show you guys the next battle with the force close to our numbers, and talk a little bit about my philosophy when it comes to armor in this playthrough. I think that as a Dothraki, we should have probably never worn any true armor. However, the obtainable Dothraki armor in the game probably offers higher numerical values in the protection department. I can't find a screenshot, so you guys will just have to believe me when I say that traditional Dothraki leather armor is kind of OP in the game. Instead of going ahead and buying it, I decided to only wear armor we have taken from our enemies or have won in tournaments. That is the reason why we don't look the best even when we can afford the highest tier of equipment. Maybe that will change in the future, but for now, this is what I decided to do. After this victory, battles in the field began to feel more like a chore. Fortunately, we realized we had accumulated enough influence to call forth and assemble an army under our command. I decided that the city of Tyrosh would be the first target, and I'll let the siege play out as well. Of course, you guys are welcome to skip ahead or watch it at a higher speed. The siege turned out to be a magnificent victory for us. We only lost about a tenth of the casualties we inflicted. After such a display, we could not deny our men their customary right of pillaging the city. The army was still very strong and cohesive, so we decided to go ahead and march into another relatively close city, Misafaer. On the way there, we couldn't help but be a little upset, since most of the lords chose Namela Toland to be the master of Tyrosh. We could only hope that the next one would be awarded to us. Anyways, this is where we will call it an episode. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button if you enjoyed it. I'll catch you guys in the next one.